I'm going to hand this over to Fred Barber. Where did he go? There he is. Fred, if you wouldn't mind coming up here and telling us just a little bit about the Douglas Airport and why we're here.
Well, I didn't expect this many people. But I'd always wanted to fly, and I went to Kansas City and simply paid for lessons. And I learned to fly in a Piper Colt. And that's a two-place airplane side by side, bicycle gear, and it's easy to fly and easy to land. That's what I learned.
That's what you want to
I got the license, and then I bought a little two-place airplane. Let me go back. When I was working for that private license, the fee was $12 an hour for airplane fuel and an instructor. And it was, at that point in time, it was damn hard to get $12. But I got the license, bought the Champ because I had to have time for licenses. I had to have licenses. That was the cheapest airplane I could get a hold of and the cheapest operating expenses. But it was a tail wheel. Today, you can't get in a tail wheel airplane and fly it. You have to have a special endorsement. I got in it, took off at what was State Line Airport then, flew up here and landed on that strip, my first landing period in one of the things. But I finally got it done. I want to talk about the evolution of the industry just a little bit. Nancy will get disgusted with me, but she'll just have to get disgusted. At the end of the Second World War, this whole country was covered up with airplanes and pilots. Very few airlines. There's not that much wealth in the country. Not very many people could afford to fly. But anybody could get a hold of a multi-engine airplane and start an airline. The whole marketplace was in an uproar. It wasn't very stable. It was tough on the established airlines. Now I'm going to jump ahead. When I got with an airline, got to Atlanta, and I was on the airport authority for Peace Treaty Cab Airport. And that is a supplemental airport around Atlanta for executive airplanes. Prior to that, it had been the Naval Air Station for Atlanta. The Naval Air Station moved to Marietta. Then that airport was turned over to the county, and I was part of that administration. I'm going to come back to that, but in 1949, there was 3 events. One was an air show in south of Denver. What's a big town south of Denver? Boulder, not Boulder.
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs. A big air show. Somebody did a slow roll towards a crowd, and 19 people were killed.
Oh.
That stopped exhibition aerobatics for years. There was also an airline collision in the Northeast, and Eastern was one of the airplanes, and I can't remember what the third event was. But Harry Truman brought together a Blue Ribbon Committee to evaluate the industry and the future. He put Doolittle, General Doolittle, in charge of that committee. And Doolittle is one of my real heroes. You just have to read about him to know it. But in 18 months,
Air Force.
but in 18 months, he produced a little red book that prophesies the direction of the industry in this country. He said, now this is 1949, he said that the technology was on the books to convert the whole civilian commercial fleet to jets and get rid of the props. And then he laid out the criteria for it. Prior to that time, everybody tried to get runways where you could get headed into the wind. But he said the The jets will be faster and noisier, and we cannot protect the airspace 360 degrees around an airport in an urban environment. We have to have parallel runways into the prevailing wind and just protect the airspace off each end. Then he said the jets at that point in time will operate at a Mach 8.0 to 8.4. Mach is a percentage of the speed of sound. When the initial jets came, everybody operated at 8.4. But they realized the difference between 8.4 and 7.8 Mach percentage of speed cost a lot more fuel. So the whole industry backed off to 0.78. That's where they operate today. He also said the minimum runway length for any of the supplemental airports will be 5,000 feet. The main runway that we were dealing with was 5,001 foot. And you'll find that all over. 5,001 foot. Now, after that the banks, the investment bankers would not commit to the whole revitalizing of the industry because the jets brought so much. The technology was so good, they wouldn't subject their money to a freewheeling market. So they created the Civil Aeronautics Board, and they regulated routes and ticket prices, and they guaranteed 8% on the commercial bonds for the basis. That was in 1959, and that was to run for 20 years, to end in 79. Now, for an airline pilot in my age, 79 was when deregulation came, and it was a freewheeling open market again. But that's what drove the tickets down, ticket prices down, where the majority of Americans could fly. Back to this airport. The runway was right from that knob down there. It was right down the center line of where all of the picnic tables are. That knob up to about here is 800 feet. But both ends were open. So if you're a little bit sharp, that's plenty of room. And Carol's father lengthened that runway 200 or 300 feet this way. I got hired by Eastern pretty early, and I was gone. But George lengthened the runway, paved part of it. There was hangars right down here for, I don't know, 10 or 15 airplanes. There was a heated and air-conditioned shop and an office, and lots of activity. But it was a fun place. Now, to me, Napoleon Bonaparte, in the French Revolution, that period of time, when he received the officer promotion list, those lists were given to him, officer's name, his background, his last question was always, is he lucky? That was a major issue with Napoleon in promoting an officer. When I landed the airplane, I had paid $700 for the airplane. I flew it for 200 hours. I sold it for $750 to get enough money to get an instrument leader. Now you have to think, I'm going to confess now. This is a confession coming now. I didn't have enough money to get out of town, so my 200 hours were from there north and from there north. That's where I flew up there. When I got with the airline, I had 285 hours. That's all. That was the minimum, probably the lowest time anybody had hired in Europe. But it was an interesting career. It was more interesting than if I had been with an airline all the way through, all the retirement, all that would have been great. But as far as interesting and fun, I couldn't have asked for a better career, and it started right here. That's my story. I'm Stephen Taylor.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Is that too much?
Was that too much, guys?
No, that was awesome.
All right. Are you ready, Carol?
Yeah.
I know you worked really hard and worked with Clay County Parks to get this sign up and ready, so I'm going to let you have the scissors and go for it. Thank you so much. Carol's got some donuts and water over there if you'd like to join us with some donuts and water and sign the ribbon. We've got markers over there for that for Carol to keep. Alrighty, thank you guys so much.
And there's paperwork for you to pick up.
Oh yes, if you'd like to learn more about the history of the airport, Carol does have papers over there for you to read about it.